Hi there and big welcome to a cEDH deck tech video for Nadu Winged Wisdom. In this video we're going to look into the statistics and the tournament performance of individual card to get a better understanding of how you should potentially build Nadu, recommended cards, popular cards and not so recommended cards, etc. But to start things off, this is currently Nadu's overall performance. So it's quite popular, it's a very new commander and it's already achieved a 268 tournament entries and an amazing win rate of 27.79. Now below that win rate you have minus 5.85. That's how much Nadu's win rate have been dropping from the initial start. When it actually came, it was something around 33% win rate from 40 tournament entries, but as more and more games have been played, Nadu's win rate have been dropping, which is kind of natural as people are starting to figure out how to actually beat it. There's a lot of commanders that actually showcase a dominating performance early on because it's new and no one actually knows how to interact with it. And I would like to point out that the chi-square test result is not statistically significant, and that is because there's a big spread. You see, the chi-square test is trying to figure out if we can trust the win rate up there or if it's a random chance. And because we have an initial start with an enormous good performance that is trickling down a tiny bit, it's a big spread. For example, if we compare Nadu with cEDH, the current best commander inside the entire best, it's the commander with the highest win rate, which doesn't naturally mean it is the best. It's just that I get to say it has the best win rate, but it has an higher participant rate. A lot of people have been playing cEDH for quite a while, so it's a win rate we can trust more to be a certain fact compared to Nadu's that could change a little bit more over time. So we will see if Nadu will be above cEDH or below cEDH in the future, but overall I would personally say that they are quite equal. In fact, don't look at a cEDH like the win rate is hugely small micromillimeters that indicating that there's a difference. When you're seeing a bigger spread between them, for example, we have a Slicer at 17.19. This would indicate that Slicer compared to cEDH is not really, there's a big difference between those two. But between cEDH and other very strong commanders, Nadu versus cEDH, they're kinda equal in my opinion. So far, I don't think that we can say for a certainty that one is better than the other. You can speculate who is stronger and such. But according to data, the more mature and responsible approach is to say that they're kinda equal. So what's the point of that win rate value up there in actually? Well, it is a reference number. Because I do calculate a little bit more than just the commander, also the individual cards inside all the potential builds of that commander. For example here, Dosan the Falling Leaf. Here I have a pie chart with red and green indicating the percentage inclusion rate, which is 22.4. For example, here just above my head, I have total decks 268 and a total of 60 decks that are playing specifically Dosan the Falling Leaf. Here we have the reference number 27.79. That's the average win rate of all 268. But in this case, we have the average win rate 36.33 from only calculating on the 60 decks that did include Dosan, and that is an increase by plus 8.54, indicating that Dosan the Falling Leaf is a recommended card. And we can look card by card, finding, for example here, Gilded Drake, the win rate is suddenly in red, lower than the total average, and you can see a drop by minus 2.70%, indicating that Gilded Drake might be a not recommended card. But let's begin in a different angle. Here we have Lightning Greaves. It's an auto-include basically. Now we don't have a 100% inclusion rate, we have something like 99.6. which is basically a 100% inclusion rate. So the win rate is going to be identical to the total average. However, when you're seeing something like this, it's a very popular card among the player population, which means that it's still an auto-include and you should always play it. Now Lightning Greaves is a no-brainer because it's one of the main combo cards. But we also have some singular cards, for example Deadeye Navigator, that is, not heavily played. This is indicating that it's not recommended. Now in this case, ignore the win rate, don't care that it has a minus there because you only have one deck that actually entered with it. but as you can see, it is not a popular card among the big player population, which indicates that it's not recommended. So if we start at looking some of the auto-includes, you have Dryad Arbor, Jeweled Lotus. This is honestly very close to an auto-include in my opinion. Yeah, 88.1% on Displacer Kitten. A lot of people are playing this one. Boseiju Who Endures. Yeah, it's good. Play it. Affetto Alchemist. Yep, auto-include. Chord of Calling. Yeah, auto-include. You want to play those untapping creatures. Those are your combo pieces. So yeah, you definitely want to play this one. Springheart Nantuku. This combos really well together with Lightning Greaves. Yeah, I've seen it happen. It's good. Play this one. Heavily auto-include. Shuku. This is tutored with Ursa Saga, and it's another version basically to Lightning Greaves. Yeah, it's auto-include. Let's move forward and look at if we can find some recommended cards even though they are not auto-includes. Now what we want to have are 50-50 splits. Those are the best ones. Where you basically have half in green and half in red. That means that we have one group that is not playing the card and one group that is playing the card, and we can perfectly compare the win rate, like Command Beacon. It's identical to the total average. So in this case, it doesn't really matter. You can have Command Beacon in your deck, you can have Command Beacon outside the deck, and you should be fine regardless of what option you basically choose, kinda. But I can actually say that I think Command Beacon is good inside Nadu, as, yeah, the best way to interact with Nadu is to kill it. And by the way, this actually goes past Draenei Magistrate. We have something of a 50-50 split on Green Sun Senate. Or, nah, not 50, like 80-20. But yeah, it looks very recommended in general, as it's very popular. It is usually going to find Dryad Arbor becoming Green Sun Senate into something of a mana dork. But you're also going to use Green Sun Senate to find Seeker of Sky Breaker. Heavily recommended. It is, in my opinion, an auto-include. And as you can see, it's heavily played. 84% inclusion rate. Paradise Mantle does not have a increase on the win rate. We have something of a 50-50 split. It is kinda similar to Lightning Greaves, as it's almost free to equip, because you tap the creature, you generate the mana and send it somewhere. But the thing is that you can attach the same equipment twice to every creature, but now that creature is tapped. So this is not equal to Lightning Greaves, it's a little bit weaker, and all the creatures or the tokens that you generate during your storm run will be suffering from summoning sickness, so in the end it's not going to work as equally good to Lightning Greaves. But as you can see here, if you wanna play it, if you don't wanna play it, the choice doesn't really have a huge impact. I'm getting so tired of seeing Thassa's Oracle being played outside black color identities. And I really love that I can showcase this. So here we have something of an almost 50-50 split. We have an inclusion rate of 37.7%, including Thassa's Oracle. We have a drop of -4.12, indicating that it's a very not recommended card for Nadu. I've seen this inside Kinnan, I see this, and it's also not performing good whenever... Let me just put it like this. Whenever I see Thassa's Oracle inside a deck list that doesn't have the color identity of black, the win rate is always in negative. So yeah, here you go. Don't play Thassa's Oracle. Now, I actually have heard some arguments from people that the deck is already too complicated, and when I have infinite mana and infinite card draw, I rather just say, here's my Thassa's Oracle, now the game is over, you don't need to sit here and be tormented by me anymore. So I can see the appeal for having Thassa's Oracle inside your decklist, because it's a lazy finisher. But truth be told, if you want to go to a tournament and you want to increase your win rate the slightest, smallest increment, then it's not recommended to have Thassa's in it, because in the end it is a dead card. Now this is your actual finisher. This is going to be a tutor for your creatures that you might need, but also once you have infinite mana and a lot of creatures, you just pay X into a lot and you swing for the win. But what if we've actually lost the final of Devastation? Well, then you have Eternal Witness to bring it back. But what if we've lost Eternal Witness and final of Devastation? Well, you have other win cons too. In the end, there are a lot of different tricks that you can do to score cool, creative victories. Moving forward, we have Spell Seeker, also not so recommended, but not in a terrible spot. It's only dropping the win rate by minus 1.83. Now, I've looked at Spell Seeker in general, and I can clearly say that it's not really recommended in general. It is a tutor, but it's a very restrictive tutor, and it's also quite expensive. Usually, when I look at these cards in various different commander decks, the win rate is usually in red, not recommended. Tesseract the Seeker, however, is really good here. So we have an inclusion rate of 26.1%, but an increase in the win rate by 4 plus 82. So yeah, that's good. This is basically finding your Lightning Greaves or Shuku or whatever artifact you want that you need. If you don't have your commander in play, if you can't really get your commander, you can also use Tesseract to find the One Ring. Really good. Kind of recommended. Now it's not really necessary for the deck. Nadu is a really good value engine, but the One Ring is good when there is that Draenei Magistrate in play. Umbral Mantle looks kind of recommended, but as you can see, the player population is very keen on this, but it doesn't really change the win rate overall in general. But yeah, it looks popular. Hullbreaker Horror kinda looks recommended. You have an inclusion rate of 25% and an increase in the win rate by 1.54. So yeah, looks kinda recommended. I think we should mention Kinnan as well in this case, as Kinnan is something that can flip into Hullbreaker Horror. Now, as you can see, it's not really popular, only 6.3 inclusion rate, but an increase in plus 4.26 in the average win rate. So it looks kind of recommended. Now, I can see an appeal why you don't really want to play Kinnan. It is not really helping you, it's helping you a tiny bit, but not much with your Storm combo attempt. In overall, it's just something like a secondary commander in the, if your command zone, you can't get your Nadu in play. I mean, you could laterally just flip into creatures with this if your Nadu is being killed over and over by spot removals or Draenei Magistrates. In general, I don't think you absolutely need it. Over time, we will see if people are starting to include Kinnan more and more, and then we will see a bigger indicator on how good it potentially is inside the Nadu. Manglehorn is getting a similar verdict to Kinnan. It's not heavily popular, only 7.1% have actually played it, and it is seeing a very good increase, plus 3.39 in its win rate. So it looks recommended, but not popular. Destroying artifacts and preventing Dockside Extortionist treasures to come into play untapped is generally good. But as you can see, still not popular. So it's up to you. If you feel that you need it for your metagame, it might be heavily recommended. But once again, it's not helping you with your Storm combo, or well, you can equip Lightning Greaves to it and that will be good. The School at Water's Edge that untaps target legendary permanent, auto-include. Muddle the Mixture. Yeah, that's a very good performance. So we have a 25.7 inclusion rate, meaning it's not that many players playing it. But it's increasing the win rate by plus 5.02. You're usually tutoring for your Lightning Greaves with this one, or you're untapping creatures. But yeah, this is finding Lightning Greaves. Recommended. Really good. Retreat to Coralhelm. I can see the appeal of playing this one, but as you can see, it does not have a very high popularity vote on it, and it's dropping the win rate by minus 2.08. It's good for your combo when you're trying to storm off, but the general verdict is that you probably don't need it. Similar with Seedborn Muse. I can see the appeal and the thought behind it, but I don't think that Seedborn Muse is a necessary card. It's good when you have everything going for you, but at that point I think Seedborn Muse is a win more, and it doesn't help you in the same way like Seedborn and Thrasius. Neoform seems to be fine, something you can definitely play. Lotus Cobra, I can definitely see the appeal. It's helping you with your Storm victory when you're landfalling through your entire decklist. But as you can see, it has a very high popularity vote, but the win rate isn't increasing that much. So I'm going to say that including Lotus Cobra or not including Lotus Cobra, it doesn't really have a huge effect on your average win rate. So if you want to keep it, you can keep it. If you don't want to play it, you can skip it. It doesn't really matter. in the end, kinda. Now, as you can see, we have a lot of cards that I've actually calculated on because there's a lot of different cards. I think I have 600 cards or so, or yeah, 500 maybe. So I'm not gonna go over all of them. I'm going over the key ones that I think are important. You can see some of them here, but if you wanna know anything specific about a certain card, feel free to drop your question in the comments below and I will showcase that specific card for you. Or if you have any other questions regarding Nadu data, feel free to drop them below as well and I will look into it if I have the answer for you. But the last card I would love to showcase is Max Sternberg. You should probably include this one inside your deck list if you can. Now, he's not the actually only one, but I want to showcase here is that in this video we've basically looked at cards, the win rate of choosing specific cards and how they could affect your win rate, so to say. If you're playing Fast as Oracle, your win rate drop. If you're playing Hullbreaker Horror, your win rate increase, basically. But what I'm showcasing here is that player skill matters more. And yeah, once again, Max Sternberg isn't the only one that have had a very good performance with Nadu. He has currently played 6 deck games with Nadu in 6 different tournaments and achieved an average win rate of 70.59, which is an increase by plus 42.8%. So yeah. So card choices matter a tiny bit, player skill matters more. So I hope you got something out of this video and that you learned something. Nadu seems to be a very good and strong potential commander. It is going to be hard to say where it will definitely land in the overall tier list, but I think it's definitely going to be one of the heavily recommended ones and potentially a dominating one. I don't think Nadu is ban worthy, I've said that before, because I do think that the win rate will be slightly dropping a tiny bit more over time as people are starting to figure out how to deal with it more in the future. But I still think it's going to be very strong, performing really good, and in time we're going to get a better and better picture of what cards could be potentially good inside it. I've showcased a few that doesn't seem to be that recommended in general. That's it for this time. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.